Can you imagine losing everything? Not to a market crash or a failed venture, but to the very person you shared a childhood with, your own flesh and blood. This isn't just a story about a family torn apart by greed. It's a chilling, true account of how my sister's insatiable hunger for wealth didn't just drain our fortune, but utterly destroyed the life I knew. Get ready, because what you're about to hear will make you question everything you thought you knew about family, trust, and the dark side of ambition. That's my story, and my sister Lily's. We grew up in a sprawling home nestled amidst rolling green hills, the kind with a treehouse in the backyard and a creek running through the property. Our parents were brilliant entrepreneurs who built a successful textile empire from the ground up. They believed in hard work, integrity, and the power of family. They taught us the value of every dollar, despite having more than enough. Lily, 2 years my senior, was always the dazzling one, the extrovert, effortlessly charming everyone she met. I was the quieter, more observant sister, content to read in the shade of an old oak tree or tinker with electronics in the garage. We were different, but our bond felt unbreakable. We shared secrets, dreams, and endless laughter. When our parents passed away within a year of each other, it was devastating. But even in our grief, there was a sense of unity. We, their only children, were left with a substantial inheritance. Not just money, but a thriving business and a legacy built on decades of dedication. Our parents had instilled in us the importance of continuing their work, of preserving the family name and the future of the employees who had become like extended family. We had a family trust, managed by a reputable law firm, designed to provide for us and ensure the business's longevity. We decided to co-manage the business, with Lily overseeing the creative and marketing side, and me handling the operations and finance. It felt right. We were a team, navigating uncharted waters, leaning on each other. For the first few years, it was exactly that. We worked tirelessly, honoring our parents' memory by growing the company even further. Our products reached new markets, and our profits soared. We maintained a comfortable lifestyle, but always with an eye on sustainable growth and responsible investment. We talked about future expansions, about building an even grander legacy for generations to come. But slowly, imperceptibly at first, a subtle shift began in Lily. The charm that once endeared her to everyone now had an edge. Her requests for personal funds from the trust became more frequent and more extravagant. She started spending lavishly, far beyond what our agreed-upon allowances or even her share of the profits should have permitted. Designer clothes, exotic vacations, expensive cars. She seemed to crave a level of opulence that felt out of sync with our parents' ethos and our shared financial goals for the company. When I gently questioned her, she'd dismiss it with a wave of her hand, saying, "Oh, come on, Emma, we're rich. What's the point of having it if you can't enjoy it?" Or, "Don't be so rigid. It's just a little extra. The company's doing great, isn't it?" Her casual disregard for financial planning, her increasing impatience with my cautious approach, was a new, unsettling facet of her personality. I attributed it to her natural exuberance, perhaps a reaction to the sudden weight of responsibility. I tried to balance her impulsiveness with my pragmatism, believing that, together, we could still steer the ship. I had faith in our bond, in the shared history that had always bound us. I saw the glint of something new in her eyes, a hunger I hadn't recognized before, but I tragically mistook it for ambition, rather than the burgeoning monster of unchecked greed. The golden childhood was fading, and a shadow was beginning to stretch across our once unbreakable bond. The true extent of Lily's greed, and the chilling betrayal that accompanied it, didn't become fully apparent until the quarterly financial reviews started turning into full-blown investigations. Our longtime family lawyer, Mr. Henderson, who oversaw the trust, was the first to raise the alarm. He called me in one afternoon, his face grim, and presented me with a series of suspicious transactions from the trust. Large, unscheduled withdrawals, unusual investments in shell companies, and inflated invoices from vendors I had never heard of. My heart sank as he pointed out Lily's signature on the approval documents for every single one of them. "Emma," he said, his voice laced with regret, "it appears your sister has been systematically siphoning funds from the trust and the company accounts for months, possibly years." The revelation hit me like a physical blow. It wasn't just excessive spending. This was calculated, deliberate theft. My own sister, the one I had shared a childhood with, the one I had mourned our parents with, was stealing from our shared inheritance, from the legacy we were entrusted with. The anger was immediate, scorching, but it quickly morphed into a cold, sickening dread. How could she? Why? I immediately confronted Lily. I remember that day vividly. I laid out the evidence, the bank statements, the forged invoices, the undeniable paper trail. Her initial reaction wasn't shock or remorse, but a furious, almost deranged denial. She screamed, she cried, she accused me of being jealous, of trying to control her. "It's my money too," she shrieked, as if that justified raiding the very foundations of our family's fortune. But then, as the evidence piled up, her facade cracked. She confessed, not with remorse, but with a chilling lack of empathy. She admitted to setting up offshore accounts, to colluding with unscrupulous financial advisors and shady business partners to divert millions. She had used the money to fuel an increasingly lavish lifestyle, to cover growing gambling debts I knew nothing about, and to invest in high-risk, illegitimate schemes that promised instant, obscene returns. She even admitted to forging my signature on several key documents. The betrayal was absolute. It wasn't just financial. It was a betrayal of our childhood, our parents' memory, and the very idea of family. The sheer audacity of her actions, the depth of her deceit, was unfathomable. The financial damage was catastrophic. The extra funds Lily had siphoned weren't just a dent, they were an avalanche that threatened to bury our entire company. Major investment projects had to be halted, layoffs became inevitable, and our once stellar reputation in the industry was being tarnished by whispers of financial mismanagement and internal strife. Employees who had worked for our parents for decades faced an uncertain future, all because of Lily's insatiable greed. The family trust, once a symbol of security, was now severely depleted. The business, once a thriving empire, was teetering on the brink of collapse. I tried everything to reason with her, to make her see the devastation she had caused. I appealed to our shared past, to our parents' values, to the livelihoods of our employees, but it was like talking to a stranger. The Lily I knew, the sister I loved, had been consumed by a monstrous greed, leaving behind only a shell of the person she once was. The once golden future we had envisioned together had turned into a barren wasteland, a testament to the destructive power of unchecked ambition and the ultimate betrayal from within. I realized then that to save anything, the company, my own sanity, our parents' legacy, I had to fight. Not just for money, but for justice, for truth, and for the chance to rebuild from the ruins she had left behind. The decision to pursue legal action against Lily was agonizing. My heart ached at the thought of dragging our family name through the mud, of tearing apart what little was left of our familial bond. But Lily had left me no choice. Her actions threatened not just our fortune, but the very existence of the company our parents had painstakingly built, and with it, the livelihoods of hundreds of people. The legal battle was brutal, protracted, and incredibly public. The media, scenting a juicy scandal, latched onto the story of the two heiress sisters at war. My face, once associated with successful business ventures, was now linked with headlines screaming fraud, betrayal, and family feuds. It was humiliating, painful, and utterly draining. Lily, fueled by a terrifying mix of entitlement and denial, fought dirty. She accused me of mismanagement, of being too conservative, of fabricating evidence. She tried to paint me as the jealous sister, envious of her charisma. But the evidence, painstakingly gathered by Mr. Henderson and our legal team, was overwhelming. Bank records, forged documents, a trail of illicit transactions, it all pointed directly to her. There were moments during the trial when I looked at her across the courtroom, a stranger's face contorted by anger and fear, and I mourned the sister I had lost. The girl who laughed with me in the treehouse, the confidant who shared my dreams, she was gone, replaced by someone I barely recognized, consumed by a monstrous avarice. The verdict, when it finally came, was a bittersweet victory. Lily was found guilty on multiple counts of fraud and embezzlement. The judge, citing the extensive damage and calculated nature of her crimes, handed down a significant prison sentence. Restitution orders were issued, but we knew it was unlikely we'd recover more than a fraction of what she had stolen. The company was on life support, but it survived. We had to lay off a significant portion of our workforce, a decision that haunted me, but it was necessary to prevent total collapse. I restructured, streamlined operations, and slowly, painstakingly, began the long road to recovery. It took years of relentless effort, rebuilding trust with suppliers and customers, restoring our financial stability, and re-establishing our reputation. The scars remained, both on the company's balance sheet and on my soul. My relationship with Lily, predictably, ceased to exist. There were no visits to prison, no attempts at reconciliation. The bond was severed, burned to ash by her greed. The hardest part, perhaps, was the lingering sadness, the knowledge that the family I had cherished, the legacy my parents had built, had been irrevocably tainted by one person's choices. I learned a brutal lesson. Trust, once broken, can never truly be mended, especially when it's shattered by those closest to you. But I also learned about my own resilience. I discovered a strength I never knew I possessed, a fierce determination to not let her actions define my future. I rebuilt the company, slowly but surely, brick by painful brick. It's smaller now, more focused, but it's stable, ethical, and thriving. I've implemented stringent financial controls, and I approach every new venture with a healthy dose of caution. My life, once seemingly defined by wealth, is now defined by the hard-won wisdom of survival. The scars are a constant reminder of the devastation, but also of the strength forged in the crucible of betrayal. This isn't just a story about how my sister's greed destroyed our fortune. It's a testament to the enduring power of the human spirit to rise from the ashes, to fight for justice, and to forge a new path, even when the person who broke your world was your own blood. It's a reminder that sometimes, the greatest battles we face are not with external enemies, but with the darkness that can take root within the very heart of a family.